All right. So, okay. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Supadupa. Today we have a very special guest.
Supadupa, I like that name.
Supadupa. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
But Nico, from What You Got to Say.
Hey,
Welcome, brother.
안녕하세요. What's happening with you? What's up, people?
Yeah. No, bro, I want to say I really appreciate you coming out and doing this. My hope for this interview is, you have a lot of followers. You're really big, in the BTS reaction sphere.
I'm light skinned, I blush easy. Hold on, you can't start like this.
No, yeah, man. I gotta make you feel good. That way we get all the spicy information.
Okay, okay.
No, man, but my hope for this is you're a huge fan. You're Army, right?
Yeah.
And I know, I looked at the John Reeves and everything that has come out is your knowledge and your love for BTS has been in the forefront, which
right.
That's great. What I'm hoping is to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay. Little me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to know you because we've done the Reactorcon meetups,
yes,
right? Here in the DFW area.
Yes.
So that's where me and you were able to connect, which is crazy because before we get started, we fall into this new little niche, right, of reactions, and then we're like, oh, well, who else is doing it? We look, your videos are one of the first ones that come up. I didn't know you were from the DFW area. You watch a few videos and you're like, okay, cool. Next thing you know, we meet John Reeves. He puts together this thing, and it's like the guys I watched on the on the internet, like I'm about to meet them. So
that was blessed.
Yeah. No, it was really cool. So we've gotten to know each other. We've had some personal conversations, and the Nico that I've gotten to know, I don't know if the people that watch you have gotten to know that person, and I see a lot of value in you and your personality and stuff like that. So
wow, bro, I'm humbled first and foremost by you even thinking that highly of me personally. And a lot of people don't know about me personally as far as the fandom goes. I'm a pretty open book, vulnerable, and they know a lot about me, but not as much as what we've talked about personally. So
no, and every time I talk to you, one thing that I always come up feel, even if it's just a text message, is your positivity. And so hopefully, and again, I'm sure they, the people that are watching you, they know you have hours of content out, so I know
I've been around the world, and yeah.
Well, I want to start from the beginning though, right? So from what I know that you come from New Orleans, right? Were you born there? That's
I was born in New Orleans and half raised there and half raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, was it that you just went back and forth, or did you stay a certain amount of time?
So we had it pretty rough growing up. This is going to be one of those tales where you'll have to pull out the little small violin here. But we grew up kind of tough. I grew up under a single mother household, and in New Orleans, we grew up in extreme poverty to barely making it middle class, right? And we were at the verge of being homeless at one point, and this was when I was probably 9 or 10. I was in 4th grade. And so we had to live with my grandmother, my mother's mother. And we lived in that house in New Orleans, and my mother and my grandmother didn't get along because my mother wasn't raised by my grandmother. My grandmother had so many kids, 13 in fact, where to the point where she couldn't take care of all of them, and she gave my mother up for adoption to a close friend. Right? And so we ended up having to live there. They didn't get along, and long story short, my mother reconnected with my brother Adam's dad, who was living in Georgia.
Okay,
And he said, hey, come on out here. We're going to build a family together. I got y'all. And so that's how we ended up moving to Georgia for a few years.
Oh, okay. So how old were you whenever you made that move?
Like 9 or 10.
9 or 10?
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. And then so from 9 to 10, you stayed there. Did you ever go back to
I was in Georgia until I was about 15, 16. And then we moved back to New Orleans, similar situation. Single mother household, just struggling. It was my mother, my brother Jeremy, and Adam. And we just struggling and couldn't make ends meet, and ended up having to go back to New Orleans and live with family for a while.
I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, how was that for you? I mean, I definitely understand like the negative parts of it. Do you feel like there was any positive that came out of those struggles?
Yeah. So I think with any negativity that occurs in your life, there's definitely positivity there. Yeah, I felt like it helped me to not be so dependent on the luxuries of life, right? So whenever there's hard times right now for me as an adult, and I end up having to lose something, let's say I lose a house or something, like that's not that big of a deal to me, because I didn't lost so much in my life to where it's like, well, this is just material possessions. Like we got to, like we say in New Orleans, we got to get it how we live. It is what it is. Like and also learn how to always keep it moving. Right. And that's a part of just my drive, man. It's like, I'm not going to be out here down bad like that. Like if circumstances happen to me, like I got to run right through them, man. Like I don't have a choice at that point. You know?
So would you say it's the resiliency in the sense of like when things do happen, you can basically roll with the punches?
Yes, absolutely. Bob, weave, you can take a punch. Right. Because sometimes when people grow up quote unquote privileged or just having things and having a quote unquote good life, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, but sometimes they get so accustomed to that good life that any little bad thing happens, any little thing that shakes up their life and their world, they're ready to throw in the towel. Like they get a little jab to the face and they're, oh, I give up. I'm done. Get me out this ring. Nah, I can take a few punches, man, because I grew up like that. You know, and it's made me stronger. And that's one of the major benefits of growing up like that. And it's being a part of a close knit family. Like we didn't grow up with a big family. It was my mother, me, Jeremy, and Adam. But we were poor, but we were happy. Because it was just us. Like whenever the world beat us down. Like for example, I used to go to school, of course, because I'm an educated male. But when I went to school, I used to get picked on a lot because of the clothes I would wear, right? And also the color of my skin. We can talk about that too. But mainly because of the clothes I would wear. I wasn't in style, like, you know, and I would go to school smelling like smoke because my mom loved to smoke. So that was the other thing. And so I would come home, you know, whining and crying to my mother and my brothers, and they were there to like pick me up. And my mom, like, she wasn't like the typical mom that you think of, like a mom as in like mama bear type of thing, where it's like, oh baby, it'll be okay. No, she would say that without saying it. Like she would hug me and pick my chin up and say, Nicholas, I taught you better than that. I taught you to be a leader and not a follower. You are a leader of men. Like they're not supposed to like you. Okay. Just stand your ground and be who you are in every circumstance. Like she would strongly encourage me every single time, bro. Pick me right back up.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. Would you say like it was kind of in the don't let anybody take your pride type of you know, kind of hype? I mean, for the lack of better words, like that's how she would try to get you.
Don't let no one take your pride, I would say is a good phrase to use for something like that.
And the reason I say it like that is because it's funny. Just with you saying some of the things that you're saying, I find a lot of commonality with your situation. I grew up in Garland, right? Where we were talking. There's a intersection, Jupiter and Buckingham. And so if you know Garland, it's a working class, you know, city. It's not really that bad. But in this corner, we grew up in one of the only Section 8 apartments, you know. So some of the struggles where you were saying about like your clothes, it's like some of the same struggles I went with, to the point where it's like when I would buy clothes that were like, you know, cheap, I would actually get a lighter and burn off the brand, because I didn't want to get, you know, picked on or made fun of, because it's like, you know, you didn't have a certain brand, you know.
That's smart. I never thought about that.
I like sit in my room and I like, you know, like on the shoes, like on the bottom, you know, like I would get boots because they would have no branding. And on the bottom was the only place it would. So I would like burn the sole and then cover it up. But again, like the things that some people that grew up in privilege wouldn't even think that, you know, other kids would be doing that. But another thing that my mom was like the exact same way. It's like when I would feel down or like, oh, you know, I don't have these things or that, it was like, the reason I use the word pride is because you know, in Spanish is orgulloso, you know, that's the word for pride.
Okay.
But maybe because I learned it a little bit different, it was just kind of like, don't let nobody like ever make you feel less than, you know, have that pride about yourself, you know? So I don't know if it translates over to English, like, cause pride is usually like a negative thing, you know, but what I meant by that is like, hey, like, you know, don't let anybody like make you feel less than what you are. It's like, have that vision of yourself.
It's a mental thing. Yeah. So that's a beautiful description, by the way. So that's exactly what it was.
That's good.
That's because cool. You are who you are because the Most High made you who you are, Nicholas.
Yeah.
And don't let anyone ever tell you anything different. They can tell you.
Yeah.
But don't let them ever cause you to believe it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So I mean, your mom was, you know, the center, would you say, of your life at this
Absolutely.
time?
The rock, the foundation, bro. Yeah. Throughout my whole life up until she passed away a few years ago. Like, yeah. And of course that was tough, but I've come to the point in my life within the last year or so where I look at it as a blessing that she's gone, because she's no longer in pain and she don't have to be in this world as it is right now. Like the world's continually getting worse and worse. Right. And I've got my head on the swivel. I'm watching everything that's going on. And it's just not a good look. Right. And so I'm thankful that she don't have to be here for these troubling times. Right.
Yeah.
So that I look at it as a positive now, whereas before, when she first passed away, I took it really bad and I was just angry and just resentful, man. Like, why? What? Like, why? Like, she's too young. Like, she was 60 something, bro. Like, it's like crazy. No, she had just made 70. She had just made 70.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, now it's like puts a smile on my face that she's at rest.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, that happened.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What would you say at this time were like some of the biggest lessons that you got from her, like, in your childhood,
Be a leader, not a follower was one of the major ones. I took that with me, like, after I actually started believing what she was saying. I took that with me throughout my whole life, and that's part of what made me who I am today. It's a gift and a curse, to be honest with you.
Really?
It really is. So in my family, I'm the ones that I do life with, I'm the one that they come to, whether that's for advice, whether that's for like any financial assistance. And I have no issue with that whatsoever, because if I'm in a position to give, I give. That's just what I do. Right. And I feel like everybody should do the same thing. However, it gets hard, because if you're constantly giving and feeding others but not being fed, then it becomes this unbearable weight, right? But people see me as that guy who's strong, because that's the type of person I've been all my life, pretty much, and that's because of my mom. Right? That type of guy that he gets it done. Like, he doesn't let stuff just get in his way. It don't seem like much bothers him at all. That's the type of person I've been in my family. So her being the rock, she passed that on to me. I took that, right? And I became the rock for a lot of people in my family, right? But yeah, I got feelings too. It's like I might seem like I'm hard on the outside, but I'm very soft on the inside. And so a lot of people don't have the opportunity or take the opportunity to see that. So, and nothing against my family or anything like that, because I take pride in being like the leader, because I am like the oldest of 5 brothers. I take pride in being the leader. I take pride in knowing that I can help my elderly parents and I can be there for people. But it is a weight. It becomes like a drain and stuff. So that's why I say it's a gift and a curse. Right.
I mean, because it seems to me like you're saying, like, you enjoy or almost see it as a privilege to be able to help, to have people come to you, even for advice. I mean, that's something that's is a privilege, for somebody to even want advice from somebody. But it kind of sounds like you're saying that it's kind of lonely sometimes. Maybe it's because it's like when you need that, it's like there's a lack of it. Like maybe people that you can go to.
You hit the nail on the coffin. And I need it continually because I'm a man just like any other man. I'm a human being just like any other human being. But it's almost like I don't have time to express that I need it because boom, as soon as I'm done providing, giving advice to one person, boom, I got somebody else. Right. Now, I thank the Most High for my wife because she is that one, bro. Like she gives of herself constantly, and I have to like kind of remind her, hey, make sure you're taking time for yourself. But she gives of herself a lot to me. Like she almost makes up for any lack in my life. Like my wife is like my biggest cheerleader. She's always checking on me. She like reminds me of my mom because I'm strong, but I'm vulnerable, so things do hurt. Things still penetrate. But like my wife steps in just like my mom used to, bro, and like they barely knew each other because my mom was really, really sick and wasn't in her right mind when I was dating my wife. But like she does the same thing, man. Like when I'm down and I'm just drained and stuff, like she has a way of like picking me up without coddling me. You know? Like
100%.
I got you, like hug you, kiss you, I got you, but remember who you are, Nick. You know?
It's kind of like it reminds me I don't remember the exact saying, but it goes along the lines of like I don't even think it's a saying, it's something that I read somewhere. It's like you should ask yourself, like whenever life is coming at you, instead of saying like why me, see it that the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe it is saying that you're actually built for that. Like I'm putting you through these trials because like you can handle that more than maybe somebody else can. Like I mean that
okay.
Like I've heard that, and it sounds to me like it's kind of like the pick me up that I'm hearing from your wife, and it's not so much like, hey, don't like, not like a victim, like, oh, I'm sorry this happening to you, but it's like, hey, I get it, it's cool, but like you're meant, you're bigger than this,
right?
It's knocking you down, but you're bigger than that. So that's awesome. And I think the saying that I was saying about is like, behind every great man there's a great woman.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
And with you being somebody who is a leader in your circle, it's good that you have a strong woman that is able to help you fulfill that that role that you play with your family.
For me, it is required. I could not be the person that I am currently without her. Like there is no What You Gotta Say, for example, without my wife Mika. Like a lot of people have come to know the channel through me, my brother AJJ, and my brother from a different mother and father, Blaze. However, none of that could have happened at all without her. She's a part of the foundation.
That's awesome.
You feel me?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, going back to you being that age, what were the aspirations and ambitions of a young Nico? While you're that age, like what was it that you were wanting to do? Was there any passions that you had?
Oh man, besides like being a Mac daddy, like the light-skinned guy in Crisscross, bro. I mean, really, I was girl crazy, as most young guys I know from that time. My goal and aspiration at that time was to, get the most fine girl at the school to notice me, type of thing, and then get to the point where I'm popular. Just meaningless things like that was my goals and aspirations at that time, to be honest, bro. Have name brand clothes. Get a job, which I eventually did. Get my own job, earn my own money. Start earning my own income, and then also be able to be in a position to where I can provide for my mom and my brothers, right? So we can be better off than what we were at that current time.
I got you. Did you have any hobbies that you put a lot of effort into at that time? Did you play any sports or anything like that?
I did not play sports because I was a bad kid. My hobbies were selling drugs. That's what my hobbies were.
I got
selling drugs and being connected with the gangs in the area because I thought that was cool. I didn't have a male role model. I had a few here and there, and my stepdad, Adam's dad, he was there for a few years, but that didn't last long. And so I didn't really have any male role model. So my male role model was basically hip hop, and the guys I saw in the hip hop culture I wanted to be like that. And so some of the guys that I knew in the neighborhood, like they were into the gang activity, and I looked up to that because I thought, man, y'all cool. That's hard. That's what I'm seeing in the hip hop culture. That's what I'm seeing in these music videos. So I want to be like that. So yeah, my hobbies was getting into all types of trouble, trying to be what I thought was being a man at the time. To be honest, like we had a childhood. I'm not gonna say we didn't. This ain't one of those stories. We had a childhood. We played with toys and all that, but eventually, like, I wanted the things of the world, you know, and that influence came from the TV. Yeah, that came from seeing like gold chains on the people that look like me, you know, on the TV, and seeing them with all these beautiful women and stuff. And of course, I'm a young guy and stuff. My hormones going crazy. I'm like, I want beautiful girls too. I want that. So this is apparently this is what I got to get. These toys ain't cutting it. Goodbye, Thundercats. Enough of that. This ain't cutting it. I got to get out here and get it how they living, so I can get it how I want to live. And that was my mentality. So I switched over early teenage years, and that's really what I was doing pretty much, bro. Yeah.
So I mean, it sounds to me like you're saying like you were pushed kind of through that from the lack of, like, you know, a male role model at the time. And then your role models being these people on TV. And unfortunately, the lyrics in some of these songs are giving you the playbook on how they're saying they're got to what this lifestyle that you're kind of saying, man, that's what I want. I got you. I mean, I know that there's, you know, selling drugs and stuff like that, it brings its own negativity, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, were there any challenges that you had to kind of overcome through some of that? Did you get yourself into trouble? I mean, or were you able to get out before anything bad happened?
So I did get in trouble quite a bit. One of my main struggles was always proving myself because of the color of my skin. The color of my skin being what they consider light skin in the quote unquote black community, right? I was constantly having to prove myself because it was always seen that light skinned guys, fairer skinned guys, they're soft, they're weak. So I would always consistently be tested, and I would have to fight to prove that I'm not a quote unquote punk. Right. But once, whether I lost the fight or not, once I was tested, like, I was respected because people really started seeing that I was like a good guy. Like I was a person of my word, and my character was something that was favorable and various people sites within the neighborhood and stuff. And so I gained a reputation, and I wasn't the type of person that would start stuff, to be honest with you, like, because I felt like I had a good heart. Like, my aim wasn't to be like aggressively hateful to people. My aim was to get myself financially in a better situation, and then also so I can get the things of this world, right? But it was never really to hurt people. Like, I would defend myself and defend any of my friends and stuff. And I remember we did stupid stuff, bro. We worked at this Kroger, a lot of us. It was my first job, and I remember us actually plotting to rob where we worked. We plotted to rob where we worked, and I wish I could tell you that we didn't, but we did. We robbed where we worked, and somehow got away with it. Wow. Came to work.
You're like, this is crazy.
No, it wasn't that crazy. We didn't come to work the next day. We came to work a few days later. Oh, it was me and two other guys that would never be named, but so it was petty stuff like that. But it was always about trying to figure out how to get the next lick. We didn't want to hurt nobody, but we were just always looking for the next lick, the next opportunity to get money to further our agenda, as stupid as it was.
No, that's crazy. So my first like legal job, I say that because being Mexican, you have a lot of family members that have jobs, so you can go and help like in construction and stuff like that. But my first legal job was Kroger.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I worked at Kroger too.
Yo,
right there in Garland.
Represent. Throw up them K's.
No, so I definitely know what that was like. I was the cart guy, and then I would help bag the stuff too. So, but that is wild that you guys had the idea.
It was stupid, bro.
Yeah, it was. There was a Key and Peele skit where it was like this guy's like, hey, I got an idea to rob a bank. And he's all like, what? He's like, first, we're going to work at the bank. You know, we're going to get there. We're going to be cool with everybody. And so he's like, yeah. And so basically, long story short, the skit was like, he's describing having a job. He's all like, we're going to go there. And he's like, so how are we going to steal the money? He's like, that's the thing. They're going to deposit it to us weekly.
I remember this.
You know? Yeah. And he's like, man, that's a job. So I was kind of thinking you were going to go there with it. But yeah. No, man, but so that's wild. And nobody ever suspected that it was you guys.
No one ever suspected it was us. Now, there was this one guy, he wanted to like do it with us, but he was extremely tall. And he had dreads. We're like, no, beep, you can't do this.
Yeah.
No. So, but
they're gonna know it's you.
Yeah,
you
they're gonna know it's you. Yeah. So
no, it's funny that you say that because it just takes me back to being young. Because again, you know, I grew up, you know, poor. Where you're saying just like not like the worst, but just slightly enough to be middle class.
Yeah.
But still, you're not getting any of these luxuries and stuff like that. One story I always tell is that the worst. What I really disliked was coming back to school after a Christmas break because everybody would be like, oh, I got this, and I got that, and you'd be like,
bro,
must be nice,
bro. I remember stuff like that, bro. That hurts my heart to this day.
Yeah,
man, I remember everybody had the Deion Sanders shoes. You remember the Deons?
I don't.
You remember those,
no,
bro? No. Yeah, because our age is a little different here, but man, let me know in the comments if y'all remember the Deion Sanders shoes, bro. But like everybody had the Deions. They had the ones I liked the most was the black and the gold ones at one point, and we couldn't afford them. I was pandering, bro.
Yeah.
I was hitting my mom up, which I knew she didn't have the funds for it. Yeah. Then I hit my dad up. He didn't have the funds for it. I hit my grandma up. She didn't have the funds for it. So spent all year without the Deons. Finally, my grandma got me the Deons for Christmas, right? Bro, I came back off Christmas break with the new Deons. Bro, I was like, and everybody just walked past me with the new thing. Nobody was wearing the Deons no more, bro. I was crushed, bro.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh man, bro. Always late, bro.
Yeah.
Always late to the newest fashion.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
So
no, I know exactly what you mean. Mine were the Adidas Superstars, the ones with the 3 stripes on the side that looked like
Adidas Superstars.
What are they, Superstars? I forgot the name of them, but it was the Adidas ones. At the time, everybody was wearing them. I forget the name. I think they were Superstars, but anyways, it was the Adidas. But that was it for me. Like,
okay,
I saved up money and everything, and I ended up, you know, going and buying those shoes. And my mom took me, and you know, again, she came from Mexico, you know, so she's the brand stuff. She's not really seeing like why you would pay more to get a shoe where you could go to pay less at the time and just get another shoe. And so when I was sitting there buying, she's like, I don't know why you're wasting your money on this. And I was like, you just don't understand.
You don't get it.
But,
you don't get it.
Yeah, but no, the same thing here. So you get into some trouble. You start, you know, kind of, you know, going through that. Was there a time where you kind of get away from that, or like as you start growing into a young man, like, you know, where does your life take you then?
Yeah, we moved to New Orleans. Me and my brother Jeremy ended up living with my dad for the first time in our life. We had brand new little brothers, 3 of them, Justin, Jonathan, Nathaniel. And I always aspired to be a good role model to my little brothers, especially being that I was the quote unquote man of the house, right? When I was living under my mom's single parent household. And so I took that same energy into these new little brothers that I met in New Orleans. And I was still being a knucklehead, right? Because it's like, that's all you know. Like I was adopted by a culture. Yeah. And this is hip hop culture. I was adopted by a culture because we don't know, we as in quote unquote black people from Africa, we don't know exactly where we came from. Our heritage was stripped from us. Yeah. So oftentimes we adopt just any culture that seems like it could be us. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I'm still doing the same thing under that influence. But at the same time, I'm starting to see the value in being something more. Yeah. Okay. And that was because of these little brothers that were really looking up to me. I remember like doing my thing in the streets, and I would be like smoking and drinking and everything like that. But I would do my best to hide it from them because I didn't want to be that negative influence on them. And eventually I got to the point like, well, if I see this as bad for them and not profitable for them, how much more is it not profitable for me? And so after high school, I decided to like stop hanging with some of the same dudes besides the ones that were kind of like getting on the straight and narrow path I was. I decided to stop doing that and actually go and get myself like a real job and try to make something of myself. So it didn't happen really until honestly 20 years old. To be honest.
Do you feel like being out of high school, like not having those pressures anymore of like, man, because I might have to prove myself today, going back to some of what you were saying earlier, like, do you feel like kind of getting out of high school and not having to see certain people? Because I feel like school's a kind of weird thing is like you put all these kids with other kids and sometimes like these kids may not want to hang around each other, maybe a bad influence, and you feel like you have to prove yourself because I got to see this guy every day, you know? Do you feel like being out of school
there was freedom in that? Absolutely. There was freedom from getting out of that, the pecking order system that is created by the system. Absolutely. Also, school is just, to me, in my humble opinion, nothing more than an indoctrination tool, to be honest with you. Because once I got out of school, I didn't really use hardly anything that I learned in school. Like I had to get like new skills in order to actually make it. Right. I mean, they put you in school just so they can teach you the things they want you to know, but they don't teach you the things you actually need to know. You see? So that definitely helped. It helped to just free my mind from just a lot of different aspects, to be honest, man.
I got you. Let me just make sure I'm still recording.
Okay.
And all right, cool. So I actually want to ask you something about culture, because I mean, to give you an insight, so I'm first generation American. Both my parents came from Mexico, right?
Okay.
When you come over here as a well, I mean, I was born here, but when you're growing up as a Mexican male, you're not in Mexican culture anymore. Now, I was when I was at home, but when I would go to school, I would see the two big cultures in America, which is, you know, black culture and white culture. You know, you mentioned a lot of stuff about like, you know, some of the influences that certain things had on you and stuff like that. And I just kind of want to get a understanding, because it's like when I'm growing up, I start looking at the world around me, you know, and you have two different styles, you know, right? So you see, I always say that like my experience of America is kind of different, because there's things of your culture that I feel are also my culture. Because I grew up watching, you know, what Black America was putting out, be it, you know, the Friday movies, which were really popular because they were really funny, you know, and stuff like that. But a lot of like the values that you see from the Black community, you see in the art, you know, be it music and all this stuff. So you see this culture, and then, you know, I also see white culture, you know, and they have their own things that they're putting out and stuff like that, you know. Can you elaborate on some of the good things and maybe some of the shortcomings that maybe media, like Black media, sometimes puts out that could help or harm? I mean, what is your thought on culture? Like what do you see when
this is really good? Peter, outstanding, sir. This is really good. This is valuable discussions we're having here. So first and foremost, I will say that the whole concept of race is fake. The concept of race was created on the tail end of the 17th century by a man named Johann F. Blumenbach. Look him up whenever y'all get a chance. But he created a concept of race. Before then, the world identified themselves by tribes, nationalities, ethnic groups. That's how, and we're talking about 17 centuries of that versus just these few centuries we've been in this mindset, right? So when it comes to actual Black culture, and I do this now when I talk about Black, because we've been giving that title by white supremacist. Johann F. Baumbach was a white supremacist. He put the Caucasians at the center of everything, okay, because he himself was a Caucasian, right? And he classified Caucasians as number one, right? And then all the other groups accordingly, and the quote unquote blacks from Africa, they were at the bottom, right? And so that ideology has been perpetuated throughout the centuries, and it just got worse and worse as the Europeans basically began to conquer the world, right? And so they extracted my people from a certain section of Africa, and we were part of the transatlantic slave trade. Now, when they got us here into this country, slavery is not a new idea. Okay, absolutely not. Like there's been slavery throughout the generations. However, but something very specific happened to my ancestors that really hasn't happened before, as far as I have been able to like see for myself through reading and learning. One thing specifically that happened was they stripped us. They made it a point to strip us of our identity, of our heritage, to the point where we were just told that we're from Africa. Africa is a big continent.
I mean, I think it's the biggest, right? Like the landmass.
Yes, it's a huge continent. So to say we're from Africa means nothing, right? And they also have made it so in our minds as a population that the black people from Africa, they're all the same people. No, we are various different people groups. But because of the indoctrination of skin color being an actual thing, we as black people, we are under the influence of that indoctrination. So we believe, oh yeah, okay, well they say we're from Africa, so I guess that's just what we are. All black people come from Africa, right? And those black people over there, they're my kin. We must be the same. We're not. We're not the same at all. And so we came over here through the transatlantic slave trade. They stripped away our heritage throughout the generations. We just don't know who we are. So we're searching for something to identify with. And every little culture that pops up, every little subculture that pops up, hip hop was the one for me. That was my generation, but there's been others, but hip hop was the main one for me. And that was that started off as very innocent. It really did, because we're sitting there, we're searching, trying to figure out who we are, right? We're trying to grow something for ourselves in the land of our oppressors. Right? And they, the powers that be, the corporations and everything, began to find talent within our communities, hold them up and say, hey, we'll pay you all this money, you play this role. Right? And then we started looking up to these individuals who were feeding us nothing but poison. And it caused a lot of us as young men, and I speak it for young men and as a man, because I'm a man, right? So I definitely can speak to this. It caused us to devalue ourselves. Yeah, absolutely. And walk around like lambs to the slaughter. You know?
I see that.
And so we adopted this culture because like we didn't have anything else. Like my mom couldn't tell me where her grandmother came from. My grandmother couldn't tell me where she came from, besides that she was a slave. Okay, what was after that? They came from Africa. Okay, what part of Africa? What tribe? What nationality? What ethnicity? Because remember, the world was not divided by freaking race, black and white. It wasn't. It was by ethnicity, nationality. What nationality we come from? What's our history? What was our tribe?
What was our tribe?
Right? No one knows. So
that's crazy.
We see people that look like us doing, things that were nefarious, but it's like we don't know any better. We don't know anything else. So we like, okay, this must be what black people do. You know?
It's kind of sad to me, because the way I kind of see it, or the way that I've because I like history. The way I kind of see it is that you have a people who feel oppressed, find this medium to express themselves. Is very popular amongst them, because it's like we feel like we finally have a voice. Then you have this external person that looks like, I can commercialize this, I can sell it.
Exploitation.
I can exploit it. they go, and I think one of them, something that's real big in American culture, not just race, just American, and maybe it is a world, but to me, I only know America.
Yeah.
Is that we like the outlaw story.
Yes.
So then it becomes popular amongst whites, Hispanics, the whole world. I mean, I think the one thing that I've heard that, like, to me, is that the Black or African American male is the most influential male in the world, because, like, look at the hip hop, and how it's transcend like nations. You have hip hop in Ukraine, you have hip hop in Egypt,
everywhere, bro.
So it's like, it is kind of sad how you're mentioning that. It's like, it started off as something of like expression, and it's become almost a poison for a community, because you think that this is what you should be. And so the way that I could kind of relate to it is, obviously I come, my family comes from Mexico, and they have a underground type of with the cartels and stuff like that, and they also have a culture of singing it, like what they call corridos, or like it's actually folk music. So you hear the music that's usually in I think it's like 3 4 4 is like 1 2 3 1 2 3. It sounds like a polka, like dun, 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 dun. Yeah. So that music came from folk in Mexico, right? And where before, when Mexico was winning its independence, it was a way to be able to tell the stories of, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Emiliano Zapata or the Pancho Villa.
I've heard that.
Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata, they were basically generals of militias from the north and the south. So from the north was Pancho Villa. That's probably why you heard of him, because it's closer up north. Emiliano Zapata, he's been credited for the saying, I'd rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. He's credited with that saying. But basically, during the war, they would use these songs to tell the story of the war heroes. As time progressed, then you have like cartels, and so you have these people that sing songs, and the cartels would then pay these musicians to write songs about them. And so then the corrido, which first was like a type of folk music, ends up becoming what gangster rap would be.
Really?
Yeah. So that's also where I feel like in my culture, and again, like what's different is that I still have family in Mexico, so I want to preface that I'm not saying anything bad about this culture, because again, like it's that's a fine line that we have to but it is something that the song is out, and just like you're saying, it's like this different type of vision that you're selling to the Black man is kind of also what they're selling to the brown man, and the same thing where we're just kind of like, you don't want to glorify these things, right? Because it is a very deadly thing, and the same thing that you have going on over here is kind of like the same thing. Again, like just kind of finding the connection between the two. So I mean, you see this. Where does that put you at? Obviously. The music that comes out, right? Like Kendrick just dropped an album, right? It's beautiful music. If you just take the art form for the way it is, it's great. And he's a little bit more socially conscious, so maybe not his, but there is a lot of rap that comes out that like me, I'm a fan of trap, and the thing is, because I played metal, some of the patterns are kind of similar. So I really like the music. I'm a musician, so I like the sound of trap. But the message of it is very
it's not good.
It's not good at all. So how do you see that as a Black man? Because I mean, the music is infectious. It makes you want to dance. It makes you feel tough. The music itself changed. The trap drums changed. Pop music now has trap drums. Country now has trap drums. So again, being very influential, and you hear influencing all of the genre, but then it's also the content of the lyrics. It's making these young men feel like their life isn't really worth much. And this is my perspective going in. I want you to see that, but like you couple that with GTA, And because I get really into like culture stuff, you know, so I'm a musician. I like looking into all this stuff, and I see these beefs that happen with these gangs. I'm like, man, this is just like GTA and this music. Like, where do you see it? Like, what's your perspective?
My perspective on that is that it is a tool. It's a tool used by the enemy, and so I'm a person that is very connected to the Most High, as you know, right? And I believe there is a God. I believe there is a devil, Satan, all that. I believe in the spiritual world, all that. So I feel like stuff like that is a tool of the enemy, because the enemy does know us. He knows our bodies as human beings in general. So the one thing about music is that music is the only thing that has the power to cross both hemispheres of your brain without permission. This is why music is so influential, and this is why corporations and just the powers that be use music as a tool to control people. And so for me, I don't want to be controlled. The music sounds great, like you said, trap music. Man, I used to really be into like trap music. Like the beats is hard. They hard, son. And a lot of the beats within hip hop in general is hard. It's fire. Like, but when you listen to the lyrics, like you have to make a decision. Do I want to allow this to influence me? Because it's going to influence me. There's no one above the influence. Like, you can say that you're not paying attention to the lyrics or anything. You don't have to. Like, did you have to study to learn the ABCs? Not really, because it was in a song and you know it for life. So the music and the lyrics and stuff, it's changing you, whether you know it or not. And so, yeah, I enjoy some egregious music, some less than stellar music. Absolutely. I mean, I was a fan of Drake up until just a few years ago. But I started deciding, and people think I'm tripping because I wanted more for myself instead of allowing my mind to just be hoard out. Right. I started wanting more for myself, and so I stopped listening to Drake, and I stopped listening to a lot of these toxic artists, because one thing in Drake's music, even though it's catchy and it sounds good and he's at the #1 of the charts and everything constantly, he has a problem with drugs, and he has a problem with women, right? And he can never maintain a relationship. It's always her fault. You know, woe is me. That's some weak male stuff, right? And when I say weak male, I don't mean as in you can't be vulnerable, or anything. But at the same time, bro, come on, like that's not what it is, right? But you listen to that, you constantly listen to that. It's impacting you, right? It's impacting your view on women, in general, right? And so I started recognizing that about myself, that I was seeing women in a negative light, in a light that I didn't want to see women. It was affecting my relationships. It was affecting my current relationship, right? So you have to make a choice. It's like, you know this stuff, Nico. You have the knowledge about what music's doing to you. You're seeing what is causing you to think about your own wife. Well, you got to make a decision here. So I stopped listening to music like Drake. Now, I don't care how catchy and great it sounds and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's actually doing something negative to me, and I don't want no part of that, right? And so for a lot of us, because, and I say a lot of us as in quote unquote black men and women, a lot of us, our role models are those who have sold their souls on some real stuff. They've sold their souls for the money.
100%.
They're out there getting the millions of dollars because they masters are paying them to sell us out as a community. You talked about how black people have influence. You have said well, because we have a lot of influence around the world. But one of the best things you can do to control a people is to strip them of their identity and plant a different one that you want inside of them, that is weak, that is very sheepish, very followish, right? To where we follow any trend, as long as they put some famous black person up there with some catchy tunes and stuff, no matter what he's saying, we following behind that instead of instead of valuing ourselves enough to say, no, that's not it. That's not what I want for me. That's not what I want for my family.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. It's funny you say that because the same thing that hit you when you're listening to these lyrics, it's kind of funny, but not. So I was listening to Drake as well and everybody else, right? Because again, I like music. I grew up with all types of music.
Same.
My mom's from a border town, right? So a lot of the music that was coming from the US was coming through her. So she has a huge variety of genres that she listened to that I have too. So I would listen to hip hop and stuff. And lately I was listening and I think one of the artists said like, I got your whole year's salary like on my wrist. Or and then a whole bunch of lines like that. And you know, I've opened up to you about some of struggles that I've been going through financially. Like I'm the only breadwinner in my family, you know, and I got a family of, you know, 7 of us total.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, inflation and everything. So it's like I'm listening, I'm trying to get through the day. And this guy's just bragging about how he does have my whole salary on his wrist. And I'm struggling. Like, what am I listening to?
Yeah.
I'm getting frustrated just listening to music that's supposed to make me disconnect. And they're talking about lives that I can't relate to this. I'm married. I don't have all these women. You know, I'm struggling.
And I don't want all these women, but if I keep listening to this, it will cause me to want all these women.
And then be frustrated, not just financially, be frustrated sexually, be frustrated. And now I'm just frustrated. You know, and now I'm taking it out on the people closest to me because, again, this music is not feeding me positivity. It's just feeding me frustration. Another thing that I notice when it comes to cult, like, you know, the music that's affecting our culture, and I feel like with minorities especially, is that we hear this music like rap and the corridos that I was saying, because essentially it translates to the same thing, you know, just boasting about everything you have, right? And I feel like it gives us an unrealistic view of what a normal life looks like, because it feels like if I come home and I have clothes on my back, my family is fed, that is not enough because I don't have the Louis Vuitton. I don't have the Prada, the Gucci, all this stuff. It's like, no. It's like now you have kids that are frustrated because they don't have these big name brand stuff. But it's like, hey, most of us don't have this big name brand stuff.
That's
like,
not realistic.
It's okay to just have normal clothes. I mean, even if it comes from Walmart or whatever, you're still winning in comparison to the biggest, you know, in the grand scope of the earth. Like, you know, like
absolutely.
Look at what
they're still privileged.
Look at what they're going through in the Middle East. Look at all this stuff, you know. But again, we grow up, and I see the young people growing up putting themselves in a position where maybe you were wanting to get the clothes, and you did things that could have gone way less for you, you know.
Bro,
it sounds to me like, you know, you're saying like you were kind of lucky that some of the repercussions didn't get as bad as it could be, but you have some of these kids that are willing to go through those repercussions because they're being fed that they need this, and that you're a loser if you don't have it. If you make a 80 to 100K salary, you're a loser because some rapper has that on his wrist, you know, or a pop. It doesn't have to be a rapper. It could be a pop star. I mean, because we fantasize,
like influencer in general. I know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, look at Jake Paul. I mean, you know, he's not part of that culture, but again, young kids are being frustrated because they don't have what he has, you know? So that now it kind of makes sense to me, you know, why BTS did become such a passion for you. You know?
It comes full circle,
it
doesn't
does.
it?
It does. It really does.
Yes, absolutely. Because BTS provides me with great sounding music, but not at the cost of my mind. 100%. I'm not whoring myself in my mind, man. You know, when I listen to that music. That
makes sense. So I guess a little bit behind the curtain as reactors, right, is you start getting into something, right? And when I came into it, you know, you might have heard some of the Am Theory story. It was a rough start. And then I don't know anything about BTS. I don't know anything about Army. And I'm the type of person that's like, you punch me, I'm gonna punch you back. So I was kind of sour about the whole situation. I don't like bullies. And at the time, my perspective was like, man, we got bullied into something, right? So in the M Theory story, I was always the hater. Like that's something that they always
You were
did.
the hater.
Yeah, because it was like I didn't just go into it, right?
Yeah.
But then you would look into other reactors and there was some drama that came out maybe a year ago about people started seeing reacting to BTS as a come up. And there, Army was very clearly calling out people that were, being fake just to come up, and people that were being that. And so I always felt like as I would look at other reactors, I'm like, man, do they really are they really into this as much as they have?
Yeah.
And as much as they put out, I'm sorry, are they really as into it as much as they put out? Because again, I wasn't that. I was just like, until it hit me. Yeah. And I was like, but now to me, it makes sense, your passion, because again, you don't know how, I've been around you. Yeah. I know how positive you are,
Thank you.
But sometimes, we're behind a camera. Yeah. These people, they're going to see it when it starts, and when it stops, they don't know our personality,
No, not really.
Now that I seen you behind the camera, the person in front of the camera makes sense to me.
Okay.
Now that you've told me some of your personal frustration with the music, and this is for lack of better term, I don't mean this as a negative way, you're over the top passion towards BTS.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it makes sense now to me, somebody that knows you now, because it's not over the top. It's, you found something in this music that has allowed you to be like, man, I can have this. I can have music.
Yeah.
And I love music. Music is a big passion of mine, right? And I can only imagine if I was had forsaken all this music and be like, man, what am I gonna get? And then you have this light at the end of the tunnel, which is BTS. It all just clicked to me now, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I feel you, son.
Yeah, it all just clicked, your passion and everything for the band, So that's awesome. I hope that and this is what I wanted from this interview.
Yeah.
Because again, it just was oh, wow.
That makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I hope that, the viewers with getting your story also makes sense why you're so passionate about BTS.
Yeah.
Why you've made everything, about this band, So, well, not everything, but I mean your
as
show,
far as the channel,
the channel
and
stuff like that.
I love to create around the things that I love. I've been doing YouTube going on. I was thinking about how many years have I really been doing YouTube? It was yesterday, because I've been thinking about this interview a lot.
Yeah.
I've been excited to sit down and chat with you, especially after watching Scott's interview.
Yeah.
Who is one of my favorite people in the world.
Awesome.
Hey, Scott.
So Scott.
But then I was thinking well, if he asked me how long have I been doing YouTube, I always say about 15 years, but I've been saying that for about 15 years. So how long have I actually been doing YouTube? So I've been doing YouTube for about going on 18, 19 years now. 18, and historically, I have created around what I'm extremely passionate about. At one point, it was gaming. That's when I started YouTube, because that's all I did, brother.
Yeah,
was play games, man.
Yeah.
I recently got married. At the time, we got a house, and I had my gaming set up and stuff, and I was watching people create gaming content, and I was like, man, I love gaming. I can do that too. I want to try to do that. So I was just doing it kind of just for me.
Yeah.
And started getting a few viewers.
Yeah.
Just a few viewers. And I'm like, oh man, I can actually do something with this. This is fun.
Yeah.
So that's what I started doing, and lost kind of my passion for gaming as it was back then.
Yeah.
And got out of YouTube and had to do adulting. You know how I go. I had to work them hours at the job, know? And then I went through a pretty tough divorce, right? And unfortunately, it was mainly my fault. And so I can't even sit here and ever blame my ex-wife for what happened. It was my fault.
Yeah.
And so went through a tough divorce, and I went to YouTube to create motivational type of content, because I was trying to pull myself out of self-hatred at the time, because I was really hating myself for what I did in that relationship to cause it to go south. And so I wanted to motivate people, and from there, I don't know how we got on this road, but from there that turned into alpha male Nico, if you can imagine that. I became a bit of an alpha male because I started getting kind of defensive on some toxic stuff, right? Like, oh man, this is too weak. Like, I'm not about to be weak about this stuff, man. I'm over this. Like, I'm an alpha male now. So I started creating content like that. Luckily, just for a short period of time. And then from there, I got into movie trailers, because me and my current wife, when we were dating, we used to love to go to the movies, man. We're huge movie buffs. So I was like, I want to get back into YouTube. And she said, we should do like reviews. I'm like, okay, cool. So I got into the reviews. Then I was into the music, which music was always a part of my life. And then I started doing reaction videos to music. And then that led to BTS. So I've always been the type that loves to create around what I'm most interested in. So the reason why this is a BTS only zone that I have with What You Gotta Say is because that's what I want to do. Right. So for me, as an adult, I do a lot of what I need to do. And I think like most adults, unless you just, got a private jet or something, you doing whatever you want. Most of the time we're doing what we need to do.
What we have to do.
Right. So, but I wanted to do something that I wanted to do. Right. And so I chose, because I want to, because I have my passion for this group, I wanted to just create content around them and them only. Right. And 5 going on 6 years in, that fire hasn't extinguished. Like, it's still burning. Right. And a lot of people ask me, well, I say a lot like I'm popular, but some people ask me, they're like, man, do you think, because you do it like that, do you think there's something wrong with reactors reacting to multiple groups and artists? And I'd be like, no, man, like, just do what you want to do when it comes to stuff like this, right? I'm not the type of person that's like, do what thou wilt or anything like that. No, I submit to a certain value system, and that's very much under the Most High, right? His will be done, not my will. So I don't want to get that twisted. But when it comes to the things that are just like for fun and you're playing and stuff, right? Because to me, this is just like my playground. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a playground. It's supposed to be a place where I get away and I can just have fun with other like-minded individuals. So if you want to react to multiple groups and artists, then go for that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Just because I have chosen to only react to this group doesn't mean like I'm holier than thou or anything like that. But it's like, this is just my personal choice. And hey, I don't foresee me not wanting to react to BTS, but it's like, I am eventually going to create something else, because I'm a creator first, right? Whether I'm creating something on top of this or doing another channel or pausing this and then doing something else, I'm a creator. So whatever, tickles my fancy. It's like, I'm just going to go do it,
That's great. So because, you said whenever you were younger, you just, you were girl crazy, and then you were just doing, to get the things that you wanted. But since I've known you, because I've only, we've got to know each other as YouTube creators and all that stuff, right? Creativity and creator is something that's been a lot in your vocabulary. Was there something that switched that made you want to be more creative? Was there something that happened that you're like, man, like now I do have a vision. Like I have something inside of me that I want to give to. Was there like a catalyst to that, or how did getting on YouTube really come to your mind outside of gaming and all that stuff?
As far back as I can remember, and this is a compliment I'm about to give you right now. Real quick pause. You remind me a little Shannon Sharp.
Was it the muscles or?
It's not the muscles.
No, okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Because I was about to say he's a little bit smaller than me.
It's not the muscles, but it's just the quality of the questions.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far back as I can remember, I've always been a creator. I'm the guy, the little kid that would take the toys that we had, right? The toy chest that we had, and we had so many different toys. Like we had just a few Thundercats, just a few Ninja Turtles, just a few Legos, right? And it was me and my brother Jeremy. We would create TV shows out of these toys, like full on blown episodes. Right? We would have these toys going to school sometimes, like, and just sit in class and actually like go to lunch and recess and everything like that. I wrote a script for a Ninja Turtle movie when I was like 9 or 10 years old. It may have been earlier than that. I'm really bad with ages and timelines, but I wrote a full script because we were infatuated with the Ninja Turtle movie, the original Ninja Turtle movie, the only one that I speak about. Okay. And so me and my brother, we acted out that script with our toys, right? And from there, like, I started drawing like comic books because I was really into comic books. So as long as I can remember, I've been creating around what I'm interested in. I can't help it. It's just always been in me to do that. And so it just kind of just flowed into YouTube because that was the thing. You know, it was the thing where it's like you're seeing a bunch of people creating content, and I'm like, well, I like gaming. I want to create content around gaming. It's just a desire. And I've always had, man, and it hasn't gone away. I mean, there's times in my life where it's paused because of life, right? We do what we gotta do first and foremost, not what we want to do all the time. But when I get the opportunity to kind of like tickle my creative fancy, I'm going for it, bro. And the blessing with the What You Gotta Say thing is that I've been able to do it full time. For the last few years, right? Awesome, and I actually was able to do some of the gaming content and then the content before that kind of like part-time as well. It was doing really, really well also, I mean, for its time, right? But this stint, I've been able to do it for the longest, full time, right? Awesome. So it's like, yeah, man, it's really blessed, bro. So, but yeah, I've always been that way, man.
So I have a question. I'm gonna check that we're recording. So and again, I propped up this. Yeah, okay, we're good. So this is okay. I have an interesting question that I want to ask you.
Interesting.
Because I find a lot of commonalities between me and you, right?
Okay.
So when I was young too, I would do the same thing with toys.
You was?
Like, I feel like we would like in my imagination, I would just create this whole storyline, be it an action movie, be it whatever it was. Because I had a friend at the time, his name was Kevin, you know, and Kevin, I didn't know until later, his mom worked at an actual toy store. So he had all the toys. Everything that would come out, he had it. And it's like, I didn't make the connection until as an adult, but I'd always go into his house and it's like, man, he always had everything. But we would play and I was so into toys in the sense of like creating these stories that I thought, I was like, I don't understand why adults don't play with toys. I feel like I'm gonna play with toys for the rest of my life because of the creativity. So too, bro. You did too? Okay, good. Yes. So what that tells me is that you have a pretty active imagination, right? Do you feel like you can, when you plan something out, when you have an inspiration, I'm gonna do YouTube as a video, or I'm gonna whatever the avenues, all the avenues of YouTube that you've done. Do you feel like you visualize those things first? Like you saw yourself doing it, like it was more than just like like you saw every step of the way. Can like almost like chess? Can you see a few steps forward? Maybe not always pans out how you imagine, but you kind of plan it out in your head. Is that something that you do?
It is something that I do, not consistently though. That's a really good question. So with What You Gotta Say, yes. My wife and I, we were very strategic and we knew where we wanted to go and we saw where we wanted to go and we got there. But it hasn't always been like that. Sometimes, a lot of times it's just been kind of like, oh, here I am. Type of thing. Like with the gaming stuff, I'm like, I just randomly, oh, yeah, that sounds fun, man. I want to do that. Ooh, here I go.
But my question is, okay, you want to do that. Do you ever see the possibility of where it could go? Or is it just, I'm gonna do this and then all of a sudden it happens?
No. I do not see the possibility of where it can go. No, it's kind of an adventure. Yeah, so I kind of have an idea in my head what I want it to be and like where I would like for it to go, but I find myself always undershooting it. Like, you know, with this What You Gotta Say thing, I didn't expect it to be what it is at all. Like that was not part of the plan whatsoever. You know, I kind of thought I was just gonna be doing it for like a few months to a year and then I'll be moving on to something else, to be honest with you. So no.
No. Okay.
No.
Well, that's pretty interesting. What is your motivation right? Like when you do these projects, right? Because, you know, again, what you got to say and BTS is what brought us together. But I hear that you've had a lot of things that you've done.
Yeah.
What is the motivation that keeps you like going? That says, hey, you know, like, is it the possibility of what things could be?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just the journey itself? What's your motivation for the things you do?
I love making a difference because, as my mom taught me, be a leader and not a follower. I have identified that I have a certain role in life just based on how people relate to me in my personal life. Like, I'm a person of influence, and I historically have used that influence for bad and for good. And I've seen what it has done to myself and people that I care about when I've used my influence for bad. Right. And I've repented of that several times. And now I aspire to use my influence for good, because either way, no matter what, I'm going to influence. If you're around me, I'm going to influence you. And that's not me being like cocky or big headed. Nothing. It's just based on my history. And I've come to identify that just within recent years.
Yeah.
Right. So what gives me the satisfaction and that drive and that motivation is that I want to influence people for the good, as in I want to be the type of person that brings joy into people's life, because I know how hard it is out here, and I know how hard it can get. I know how lonely it can be. Like, for example, this BTS thing, like, I know how lonely it can be, like, that no one understands why you like this group, these 7 guys from Korea that speak a different language that you don't fully understand. Like, how could you really be into this? I had one brother call them, is none of the guys y'all have seen on camera, but one of their brothers, he called them douche canoes. I didn't know you could put those 2 names together.
I didn't know.
I vividly remember this word he used for them. He was like, "Are you really serious about those douche canoes that you're watching, you're making videos about?" I'm like, "Douche canoes, bro?" I was like, okay. And I got defense. I'm like, what type of music you listening to? All right. Because your lifestyle is reflecting the type of music you listening to. Douche canoes? Bro, don't come at me with that. But, you know, that's my brother. I love him to absolute life. But it's just things like that. You feel kind of alone. Like, for a while, it was just me and my wife that was into this. And my wife was the only one that understood it. But I get it, because I want to be there for people. I want to be a voice for people. Right. In a positive way. And that doesn't mean that I'm perfect and that everything I say is going to be quote unquote positive. But what I can say is that I'm going to be genuine. I'm going to be real to the best of my ability. And I want to encourage through what I do that everybody be the same way and do the same thing, because it's going to work out for you in the end, right? Like, you're not always going to say the perfect things and the things that everybody agrees with, but you have to own your identity. As much as identity is big, bro, as much as our oppressors, and I'm saying ours as in, you know, Black people, our oppressors did their very best and successfully so stripped our identity from us. Well, identity is powerful. That tells me that identity is powerful. And just through living my life, I've come to discover identity is powerful. So if I can inspire people to own their identity and stand on that no matter what, through what I'm doing, that's motivation enough, bro.
100%.
You feel what I'm saying? Because everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, because of the influence of social media, they're walking behind these influencers that are just toxic, man, that don't have their best interests at heart. I mean, these people don't even love themselves. So how could you possibly love anybody else, right? And they're following these influencers and they're being led like lambs to the slaughter. So if I can be a light at all in all of that darkness, man, that's motivation for me, right? Because, like, I'm the type of person, I'm gonna tell it like it is, or as I perceive it to be in the current moment. I reserve the right to be wrong at any time. I'm not thinking of myself more highly than I ought to think. I do my best to be humble as much as I possibly can, but I'm going to stand my ground respectfully out here in these streets. And I encourage everybody to do the same thing. Like, love is not agreement. Okay. We don't have to agree to love each other. That's foolery.
Yeah.
That's foolery. That's what the world wants you to believe. Like we have to always be holding hands, kumbaya, in order for us to love each other. But as soon as you have a disagreement, all of a sudden, I hate you. I want to cancel you.
Yeah.
Well, you're thinking about love incorrectly. Obviously, if all it takes is a disagreement for us to no longer be fam, for us to no longer love each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People use the word love so flippantly, but I want to be a representation out here of what love actually is.
Yeah.
Love is long suffering, my brother.
Yeah.
It is. Like, I've been in this army game for going on 6 years, and I done been through some things.
Yeah.
You know, they've attempted to cancel me a few times. And when I say they, I don't mean all of Army, because I'm Army like you Army.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Army has been there for me. Army has been there for me through very tough times. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Army. Army was there for me when my mother passed away, when my father-in-law passed away. Army is fam like that. Yeah. But there are toxic individuals in any group, in any camp.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're human beings.
100%.
Look at the planet we live on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So of course that's to be expected, but those individuals have tried to cancel me several times.
Yeah.
You can't cancel someone who is not in the system like that.
100%.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man, you dropped a lot of gems.
My bad.
No. That I love, because I feel like me and you are actually walking a lot closer in paths than I thought coming into this, right?
Yeah.
So I actually went on a rant on my last video that I put up on something that you said, that standing on I forget the words that you actually use, but the way that I say it is being an independent.
Being independent.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like you're saying, knowing who you are. Yeah. Right. I think is kind of like the words that you used.
Yes.
So obviously, you know, we just went through an election. What I was trying to say, right, is that I feel like you know, we have a two-party system. Yes. Right. But I feel like most of us aren't two-party people. Yeah. I think that we should, in my belief, and I was talking to this with my wife, is that we should all identify as independents. And because I feel like if you're an independent and your vote is always up for grabs, then you're gonna be educated. You're gonna educate yourself a little bit more. You're gonna know why you believe the things you believe. You're gonna hear somebody say one thing, and you're gonna look into if that's true. You're gonna hear somebody say another thing, and you're gonna look into if that's true. The reason I say independence is because I don't think that America's ever going to go away from a two-party system. Yeah. But it's the only way to make these people as honest as possible, right? Because if everybody vote was up for grab, they'd have to be more truthful in what they say, right? And I'm going to bring this back to what you were saying. Yeah. I like because there should be no reason why we have states that are always red and states that are always blue. Like, we're just basically saying we're going to play on a team, and you don't have to actually try to do what's best for the people, because you know that we're always going to vote this way, or this state is always going to vote that way, right? Yeah. I'm bringing it back to what you're saying, because you're saying know who you are, know why you believe the things you believe, why you're going to say the things that you say, and you could be wrong, right? But at that point, you're more firm in who you are, and you're not going to be influenced by just Joe Schmo says this is cool. Yeah. Do this. Hey, let's eat Tide Pods. Let's let's do all this crazy stuff. Yeah. Right? Because that's what's cool, and we're gonna do that. No, because now you're just being a sheep, you know? Right. And I think that it takes a true, just to bring it back to something else you said, a true influencer, right? Like you said, I'm very influential. And I understand that too, because part of my rant that I did was because I work in sales. And I don't like to work hard. I like to work smart. Yeah. So all sales is just the art of persuasion. So I started looking into the art of persuasion. And there's a lot of psychological little clicks that you can get somebody to do, right? That will get them to do what it is that you're trying to do, you know? That makes sense. So I want to show something in this conversation. So there's little things you can do that will influence somebody else. Like, if you notice, I haven't really said anything, but I've been shaking my head, and you've been nodding your head as well. Yes. Right? So it's these small cues that you can learn And I started realizing that things are really that easy, right? I can, in just me moving, I can get you to move the same way.
Yeah.
Now,
That's that like mirroring.
it's mirroring,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Now it's that's been around for a long time. You might have heard it. I just, it's the easiest one to do to prove a point. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I started realizing that I was getting people to buy things that wasn't in their best interest. And all I did was just change their perspectives, right? So they would say, I don't need this. And I'm like, I get it. And then I'd get them to start talking, and then I'd start finding a way, and I would get one thing that they said, and I would just make them see that differently with things. And then all of a sudden I would sell something that they told me they didn't want.
Snap.
And it started becoming very easy because like little simple cues. So like I did the little that head nod thing, but whatever. But one of the things is like, if you're really trying to get somebody to do something, make them feel like they're not the only idiot doing it. So when I would try to get them to like buy something, I'd be like, hey, look, let me show you this. It's up to you if you want to get it, right? So very passive aggressive. I'm letting you be open to the idea. You might say, I'm not buying this, right? But I'm not telling you, hey, buy it, because that's going to pull up a wall.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm saying, hey, look at this. This is what I have. You know, this is my most popular option. Everybody's grabbing these right now. Like I can't even keep them on the shelf. And I also have these, and I also have that, blah, 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 right? Take a look at them. I'll be back. And I'm just saying nothing's a yes, like nothing's 100% in life, right? Mm-hmm. But more than likely when I come back, they'd have something in their hand. Now, for the ones that didn't, I would eventually find a way. Let's just say I was a really good salesperson, right? But it goes back to what you were saying, being influential. Was I started noticing is like, man, it's almost not even fair. Like they don't even know that everything that I'm saying is for a reason. And it started becoming ugly to me. I was like, I can influence people to do things that's good for them. Yeah. I do influence people to do things that are bad for them. So I started taking it personal. I was like, I'm never going to use this. Now that I got real proficient with this, I'm never going to use this to make people make decisions that they're not fully aware that they're making. Then I started getting really into politics. I started realizing these small little tactics I was doing it, these people are doing on a mass scale.
Oh, you was able to identify.
I was able to identify. So just like you're saying, like your path is to make somebody feel like secure in who they are, so they're not following people. I feel like that's what I want to do. I want people to be independent. No, like that's what I tell my daughter. You don't need to believe what I believe. I just want you to know why you believe what you believe.
That's good.
And if you can tell me that and we don't agree, I'm not going to love you any less.
Right.
You know, we can agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
But what's going to make me proud as a father is that, you know what, she looked into it. I may not agree with it, you know, but she looked into it. She knows why she believes. She has rebuttals from like my questions to her.
That's powerful. How old is she?
She's 18. So she's my oldest.
That's fire, man.
Yeah. So she just turned 18.
Train them up in the way they should go. Let's go.
Yeah,
Peter.
I mean that I feel like that's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you're telling me I'm very influential, that was gonna be my next question. Do you say that? Are you the friend that has the idea and say, hey guys, we should do this, and then tends to kind of be, even if that's not what happens, it's like you have a big influence on like, hey, like we should do this. Like, are you say you're a leader? Yeah. Do you find yourself doing things and then people want to come along? Was that what you meant by what you're saying, that you're very influential?
Yes, kind of. So I am the type of person that, and I have to monitor this, how much I'm doing it, because I don't want to be the type of person that bullies people into stuff unaware. But I am the type of person, like, for example, my family, I'm like, hey, I'm doing this now, and I think we should all do this type of thing. And I'm very just stern with it. And like, this is it. And anything else is really not it. And I feel strongly that we should do this. Yeah. For example, full transparency here, I don't celebrate holidays anymore. I haven't actually celebrated holidays for a while. I've been celebrating holidays because family members and close friends like to celebrate holidays, and I like the fellowship. Yeah. So this year I'm just a hard stop. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not even participating because I haven't been into it for years. And why do something just because other people want to do it, even though it's family? So I'm not celebrating Thanksgiving at all with family, nothing. And I came at them like this. I was like, if y'all doing Thanksgiving, I won't be there. And them is my parents. Yeah. Okay. If y'all doing Thanksgiving this year, I won't be there. However, I celebrate and honor the Sabbath. So if you want to do something that Saturday, we can do that, and I'll bring food. And what do y'all think about that?
Yeah.
And because, and here, this kind of thing that makes me feel kind of bad, but because they want to fellowship with me, they're like, okay, we'll go with that then, type of thing.
I got you.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And so now we're honoring and celebrating the Sabbath on Saturday and eating and hanging out together because I said I'm not doing that, and this is how it is, and it is what it is, type of thing. But all due respect, if y'all gonna do that, that's what y'all do, but I won't be there for that. And now that's what we're doing, and a few family members are going to be coming over on Saturday because of me. And I sent out an email and said, okay, this is what I'm bringing, add to it if you want to bring something, blah blah blah, I orchestrated all that.
Are you the type of person that really looks, this is very like, because I don't want to put you in a situation where you can't like
I'll say I plead the fifth if I can.
Well, no. It's not that you can't answer it. It's just like, it's kind of like saying like, sometimes with my questions, I try not to position it to where it's like, hey, are you the type of person that's really smart? And then you're like, you don't want to say that you're not, like that you're dumb, you know? So I try to find like a good way. But what I'm saying is like, it seems to me like you're a very passionate person, right?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to find out is like, are your passions just things that you get inspiration of? Or do you actually look into like, when if I were to ask you, why don't you celebrate holidays? Like, is it just something that you felt, or like you really looked into it?
I looked into it.
Okay, so
I'm the type of person that looks into stuff. I'm not a super impulsive person. Like there are some things I'm impulsive about, and oftentimes when I am impulsive about something, it goes astray. It goes awry. So I've learned, or I do my best to learn from those mistakes, and kind of scale back the impulse a little bit and actually look into it. So it's like, why am I feeling this way? For example, about holidays. And so, and it doesn't ever come from just out of nowhere. It's little things I hear here and there. And it becomes like, okay, I want to investigate these little tidbits that I've been learning along the way. Let's figure out why it's giving me a bad taste in my mouth and my heart. Then I do research, and then it's like, okay, I'm not with that. That's it. And then it's like a hard no. And then I get really passionate. And then people who are closest to me, they feel the fire the most.
100%. Bro, it's funny. I'm laughing, but I'm only laughing because I knew the answer to that. And I knew that the same reasons that bro, I have the same opinion about holidays.
Oh, really?
Bro, like I hate it because I don't want to be like the guy who's like, bro, we're like, we have a lot of things in common, bro. And
that's funny.
And the thing, so part of it was because I did grow up broke, right? So sometimes there just wasn't any money like to be able to do, well, Thanksgiving too, that's, my mom was Mexican, that's not a Mexican holiday. So first of all, that's already something that was kind of off. But like with Christmas, I already had like, we were talking about the story about the Christmas, I already had like a sour attitude towards holidays. There was a time where my mom was a Jehovah's Witness too, and that's part of their religion, that they don't celebrate holidays. So I say that because I feel like we kind of went through the same journey where I'm like asking, well, why do we even celebrate these holidays?
Yeah, bro.
You look into it and then you're like, well, that's not really a good enough reason. Like, so, I mean, do you mind expanding on maybe why you don't do certain holidays?
I think the why is so important, man. I think it's very important for us to ask why, because whether or not we want to admit this or not, as human beings, especially in this grand old country of America, which I'm not the type of person that's anti-America or anything like that. So I don't want to get it twisted, or anybody to get it twisted when I say what I'm going to say. But especially in this country that's very corporate, right? It's I
mean, we're a capitalist society.
Capitalist.
So,
yes, so very capitalist. There's a lot of indoctrination, and there's a lot of we do things just cause type of mentality. It's how we've always done it. This is how we've always done it type of mentality. And as I get older and older, I'm in my 40s now, it's like, I think it's something about getting 40. It's like, that just, your mentality starts to shift. And I know it just doesn't happen just like that. It's seeds that are planted in you. But for me, when I hit 40, it's like, I start questioning like everything. Like, why do we do this? Why do we do that? And then it's like, you look into it and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, or that's absolutely atrocious. Like, for example, Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving because the Native Americans that lived here, they were exterminated by the colonists, right? The colonizers. They were exterminated. There's nothing to celebrate about that, in my opinion. Right? And I don't care how you dress it, pun intended, because, you know, turkey dressing. I don't care how you dress it. It's not cool to me. You see, and that's my perspective on that. And there's a few other holidays that come from like origins that I don't agree with, that I don't believe in. Right? You feel me? And we gotta stand strong on our beliefs.
100%.
Because if you're sitting here just wavering and you're here and there and everywhere, it's like you don't have any identity.
100%. No, it's funny you say that, because it's like, you know, just because we've talked about history in this conversation, but it's funny because I'm Mexican. The reason I am brown and I'm not white is because I have Native American, you know, genes in me that came from that area in Mexico, right? And so it's like, you're right. You look at Thanksgiving, and I see it, you know, from a Mexican point of view of like, okay, we didn't, you know, my mom didn't celebrate Thanksgiving as a kid. It's an American holiday. And so it's like, okay, you're right. It's like, oh, it's supposed to symbolize like this kind of like giving thanks, I guess, that the Native Americans were nice and all this stuff. But then it's all of a sudden, it's like, I know that because of Europeans coming over, 90% of the Native American culture died, right? Thus now there's not because, you know, before, you know, black slaves were brought over. The native people were enslaved. Now 90% of them died. They need more workforce. That's kind of
when they went in.
So then,
bro.
And so then I see it from you know, a black person's point of view that has ancestors that came over through slavery, and they were brought after this Thanksgiving Day came in, and so then it's like a perspective like, wait, you guys are celebrating this thing that you guys did, and it's funny because it's like, you know, my wife's family, they celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving a lot, right? I didn't come from a family that did that, so it was very easy for me to be like, well, I don't even want to do this, you know. But I feel like I'm just like you, that when I find something out, I'm like, well, then I'm gonna stop doing that.
Bro. Drop it
so,
like it's hot.
So it makes me laugh a lot, because it's like I don't always come across people that are like that. You know, you always hear like, you know, you go to work or something, or you have family and friends, and they're like, hey, you know what I found out? I found out that we do this because of this weird shit back in the day that they did all this stuff. That's weird, right? Like, yeah. And then they just like
keep on going.
They didn't just say that, you know? Like when I found out, like, you know, when I got married and, you know, I had to buy my wife a ring and everything, I'm questioning things. Why do we even buy rings? You know? So then I start looking into it, and then, you know, the story, give or take, is that, you know, they were trying to sell jewelry. So they just made it a thing of like, hey, this is what we do.
I didn't know this.
So it's not even a traditional thing of saying that like a certain culture back in ancient days bought a ring. It was like kind of like what you were saying. It's like we were influenced to do these things, you know? And so I laugh and all this stuff because it's like, again, it's like sometimes you feel like you're the weird one when it's like, well, I just saw this thing and it's like, why am I going to continue doing it? But then you meet somebody else who's kind of like that looks into something. You're like, well, why am I going to continue doing that?
Right, bro. So that's what's up.
It's
good. It's good to be weird, man.
It is.
It is.
It is.
I'm proud to be weird, bro. If for a while it felt really lonely and just like you're not like everyone else and you can't really relate to a lot of people. But I started feeling like comforted in that the more I began to really value myself and love myself, you know, when it comes to the love yourself thing, I think it's important to love yourself, but I also think there has to be like a threshold. Like you're not supposed to love yourself and think more highly of yourself than you ought to. There's a certain measure. There's a certain measure with everything. Like you can drink too much water and die, right? Even though it's good for you. So it's good for you to love yourself, but not too much, right? And that's what we call cocky and being conceited, which I have been. So I've had to watch that over the years as well and grow out of a lot of that. So I got to the point where I was healthily loving myself, and I was just happy, became happy with who I am. And right now in this current moment, I can tell you with assurance that I feel such a sense of peace and just joy. These last month or so, really, like I've really been stressed off and on, just with life and the circumstances of life, and then also with what you gotta say as well. It's been strenuous, but within this last month, man, it's just like, I don't know, I've always been like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. I'm happy. Yeah. Just happy to be me and where I am in the season.
Yeah.
You know? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you on that. I went through like a short, like, existential crisis, just because I, you know, amp theory was blowing up, right? We didn't know where it was gonna be, but I'm the type of person that I'm always like, man, this could blow up, and like I could do this full time and stuff like that. And so that's where I knew it was a possibility that it could happen. But I had this responsibility of being a father and a husband and a provider.
Yeah.
And I was like kind of sucked away from it, you know? And I started becoming very bitter. You know, when I left the amp theory, it's like, I'm like, why is something really good going to happen to me that can have the possibility of making me possibly not having to work, you know? But then also then life grabbing me and saying, no, you can't have that, you know? Now, the amp theory could have never possibly happened to be that, but like that's how I felt at the time. So I was very unhappy. Like I said, I was working 2 jobs plus doing the amp theory. So I was just constantly working, not seeing my family. I was in a very lonely place. And so I started asking myself, like, what is even the point of life?
Wow.
You know? And
that's a rough road.
Yeah. And it was never like in a self-harm type of way, but you start having to ask yourself, like, is this the meaning of life? Because like, that's not fun. You know, I'm not enjoying life right now, you know? But in all of that, I kind of came to the same conclusion as you. And I felt like my meaning of life that I came across is to just exist. You know, I'm slightly different in the sense of like, I don't have a belief system. I don't know what's going to happen after life.
We've had very interesting discussions about this. I love having discussions about this because when it comes to beliefs, I feel like sometimes people are really, really guarded behind their beliefs. And if someone has a contrary belief than you, it's like they get offended. But me, on the other hand, I get curious. Yeah. Because we talked about this when we briefly when we were doing volunteer work.
Yes.
But go ahead, continue.
No, but
I find it interesting.
I think it goes back to individual. There's nothing that I'm gonna say that's gonna rock your world because you believe what you believe and you have a reason for doing that.
Right.
And I feel the same way about my beliefs, and it allows us to have this conversation. And again, going back to our imaginations with playing toys, I allow you to take my mind for a moment and show me the world in your way, knowing that it's not going to affect my beliefs. If anything, it might show me it might enhance my beliefs in a way, you know? And I feel like maybe that's the same thing that, you know, I can give you, you know, is like maybe give you a different perspective. But what I believe in just exists is that, like, because again, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Socrates.
Okay.
And they said he went to an oracle one time and they told him that he was the smartest man in the world. And he's like, how can this be? I don't know everything. And so he went to the you know, one person that was a leader in his field, and he's like, I don't know much about this this topic that this guy knew. But then he started noticing that this guy, because he was so knowledgeable in one thing, he thought he knew everything. And he did basically the same thing 3 times, and it's like, oh. And so then basically the oracle is like, the reason you're the smartest man in the world is because you know you don't know everything. So so the reason why I say exists is because like I'm very comfortable with saying I don't know. I don't just add something. So I say I don't know the right thing to believe. I don't know the right thing. All I do know is that this may be the only time I get to experience this thing we call life. You know, it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything after life or anything like that.
So you being in this place in your life right now, I don't know, I respect that, because that is much better than saying like, well, I know 100% for sure. Right.
100%.
And when you're like that, you don't leave yourself open to the opportunity that you could be wrong about something. Right. So like with my beliefs, I believe there is a God. His name is Yahuwah, because there's multiple people that say God, and it's this God, that God, right? I want to be clear. I believe there's a God, and his name is Yahuwah. Okay, he's the God of the Hebrews, as we read in the Bible. Right. So I believe that with all my heart, mind, and strength. Okay, I believe that the meaning of life is to obey the Most High and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man, and that's how I live my life. Now, here's the thing. I don't continually and consistently live my life like that, because I'm a human being just like you are. So I go through these ups and downs in my life. And a lot of times I can look back in my life, and I was searching at one point in my life, and this is recent. I would be up at night terrified of death. Couldn't sleep. I was scared that I was either on the wrong side of this thing and I would spend eternity in torment, or there is no God and I won't exist. And then my mind started getting into, wow, what is it like not to exist? All I know is to exist. Terrifying, right? So I'm saying this because, like, I think we all go through, like, as human beings, like, well, I don't know, I'm not sure, and stuff. And I think you being in the position that you're in, even though, like, I don't agree, but you being in the I don't know, I feel like it leaves you open to encountering the truth. Now you feel like that's the truth right now, but like I don't feel like that's the truth, but it leaves you open to encounter truth, because at the end of the day, regardless of how we look at this thing, and this is my opinion, this is how I see things, there is truth and there is lies, right? I don't believe in the your truth, my truth, all that. I don't believe in that. There's truth and there's not truth. Okay. And we have to vehemently, I feel with all of my heart, search for the truth. At all times, and not just talking on the highest playing field here, or the highest degree when we're talking about creator, right? That's the highest. That's it. Really, for me, that's it. That's the highest. But also in everyday life, we're truth seekers. We are supposed to be truth seekers. And that's what we were talking about before. Not just falling for anything, like being independent, being an influencer, right? And asking questions, asking why. Like anyone can ask me, well, why do you believe that way? I'll tell them why I believe that way. Well, what evidence do you have? I'll tell you what evidence that I have come across and give you the explanations of why I believe what I believe. And I'm sure you can do the same thing. And that's just an amazing just conversation to me. And I'm gonna walk away from conversations like that. Like, man, I respect that dude, man. That's an awesome dude. When can we talk again? When can we chill again? Let's get some coffee again. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the type of guy I am. But a lot of people, I feel like when you get into these certain like discussions, they just get so offended and they shut down. And I personally don't understand why. Because if you are firm in your belief, right? It's what does it matter?
What does it matter? I was gonna actually say that. In my opinion, it's the lack of belief.
That's what it is.
Is that I'm gonna say this, and I haven't really put in the time to understand why I believe what I believe. So with you telling me you believe something else, my ego and my belief is so fragile. I can't allow you to continue speaking.
That's right.
You know, and again, it's like to me is like, I love the origin stories of all faiths. Like to me, like I just love stories, you know, and I love thought. I love when somebody tells me like, hey, this is, and this is why I like doing these interviews, because you start talking and I'm like, well, why do you believe, you know? I like to understand why people believe like what they believe, because you've made this make sense in your head. And I would like to go through that journey with you. And I'm not here to change your mind about it, you know? And I feel like sometimes that's also the fault of the other person that's the listener. If you're really interested in somebody and why they believe what they believe, why would you ever intersect and say that can't be true?
Yeah.
At that point, it's like then you're not interested anymore. You're there to change that person's mind, and I don't care what you believe, you know, like in the sense that like I appreciate what you believe, and I'm genuinely interested, but I'm not here to change your beliefs. You know?
Right.
Now, if you ask me why I don't believe what you believe, then you know, then you're asking me, you know. But you're right. People are very sensitive. They can't have these conversations because they're not solidly in the thing that they say they believe. They're flimsy about it.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's a very good point. I also want to add there is a cutoff. However, if let's say individual believes in pedophilia.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I'm just saying there's definitely like some things where it's not. I just don't ever want it to be perceived, especially when I'm speaking and on this camera and on this internet. I don't ever want it to be perceived that like everybody has a right to believe whatever they want to believe, and we can just be kumbaya no matter what. No, there are some things it's like that's a hard no, and be on your way. I'm not rocking with you.
No, 100%.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I feel
on some real stuff.
100%. Yeah, because I feel like you know, with the talk that's been going on, you know, in the wide public, and I'm not trying to get controversial, right? But the questions of like what a man and woman has come up. And I'm only bringing that up to say why I then had to think like, well, why am I a man? Like, what is my responsibility? And I really do feel that the strongest of us need to protect the weakest of us, you know? And so me being a man, like you're saying, like, you know, when it comes to pedophilia and certain things, I feel like any time that somebody's trying to take advantage of the weak of us, like that's where me as a man, like I have to come in, you know? So you're right. Yeah. There are hard lines where we have to say, hey, you know what? This isn't cool.
Defense mode on.
100%.
Absolutely.
And I feel like with me, what that line is when somebody's trying to take advantage of the weakest of us, which, and again, I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm not trying to like sound like this, but to me, it's like children is first.
Oh yeah.
Children is the weakest of us, and we need to protect them.
I agree. They're the innocents.
Yep. Innocence.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that's where my lines are, right? It's like we can talk about all this stuff and all stuff, but when you're getting to being predatory in the weakest when it comes to children and women and
children are sacred. Don't play with children. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's where I'm saying where you're like, hey, I can't rock with that.
No,
that's 100%. You know,
bro.
Nah, man. I mean. Yeah, ideas are a great thing, and to bring it back to something that you were saying, keeping up, because mortality is something that I've really take time to think about and stuff like that, and that's why I'm saying like I want to exist. I want to take advantage of the fact that I have this life to just experience what life is. What that's allowed me to do. You see a lot of books here, like. You know,
you're a reader.
I like to
reading is dope. I like to read too, bro.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've done, because you know, when I ask myself, well, hey, when death comes, I don't know what's on the other side. So since I'm living here, what am I going to do? And I'm like, oh, well, you know what? Like, out of all the time that humans have lived, some creative ones have written books, and humanity has said, hey, these are the best books. So let me experience that. Hey, people have painted, and in the whole history of man, people have said, hey, these are the best paintings. So I want to experience that. I want to look at that. You know, music. Some people say, hey, this is the best music. I want to hear it. I want to experience what humanity, my people, going back to no races, my people, mankind, what I am a part of.
Human race, which is the only actual race.
Exactly. Absolutely. I want to experience the best of us.
Yeah.
You know, and so in you saying that keeping up with mortality, like what does death signify to you? Like, what do you want to do before that time comes? Like when people look back at Nico and they see your life, what would you hope they say? You know, like
I want to create generational stability for my loved ones. I want to be a key figure that breaks the generational curses in our family or helps to do that. One generational curse, there's a few, but I'm just gonna name one, is poverty. Generational curse of poverty. My dad and my stepmother, they're on the low middle class, and they've been in the high middle class, but it's like throughout their life they've lived paycheck to paycheck. My mom, paycheck to paycheck, right? I don't want my nieces and nephews to go through that. So if I can be any influence in their life to cause them to see the world differently, see themselves differently first and foremost, then see the world differently and go on a different path, then I would want to be that for them, because I don't have children of my own, but I feel like I'm called to be a leader for my nieces and nephews and my brothers as well, right? Because I mean, we're all still young. I mean, I know you get into the 40s and people be like, "Oh man, you're getting old." Now I'm just getting started, baby. I'm just getting started. You heard me? But so that's what I wanted to do while I'm on this earth. And as far as like death goes, I'm no longer scared of death. I'm happy to report my relationship with the Most High has gotten tremendously better, and that's one of the reasons why I feel so much just like just peace, bro. It's just like I can't explain. It's just like I'm just chilling. It's like no matter what happens, I used to be stressed about, oh man, I'm doing this what you gotta say thing full time, and we're not earning enough revenue in this particular month, right? It's like, you know, what I'm gonna do. Luckily my wife works and she's doing pretty well, but I'm having to lean on her a little bit more so I can do this, right? And this is primarily fun. It's a lot of work to it. Don't get me wrong. It's a ton of work when it comes to this. And I'm preaching to the choir. You know this for yourself. I just want to make sure that's clear. It's a ton of work, but mostly it's fun. Like, this is my favorite group. I get to create content around my favorite group. There's not many people that can say that, right? 100%. So I understand there's a certain level of privilege there that I never want to take advantage of. But it's like, I just don't want to be stressed, because stress brings sickness. Stress brings worry and causes you to make impulsive decisions, you know. And so I've been getting closer to the Most High, and a lot of fear has been lifted from me, and more assurance is within me. And the fear of death is no longer on me. And now when it comes to death, I'm like, I'm good, because I really believe what I believe, and if I follow him and, you know, I do what I'm supposed to do as a man of the Most High, like I'm good. I ain't got nothing to worry about. And I don't have nothing to worry about on this earth either, right? We have troubling times going on right now. Like everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people, they're really just focused on what the media wants us to be focused on, right? But if you take a step back and you look in the opposite direction, the direction they're not pointing you in, you kind of can see some things that are going on, right? And it's like, I'm aware of that, but I'm not fearful of it. You see? And it's just almost, it is what it is type of situation. But I just want to continue to be the man that I'm called to be for my fandom, my fellow army, for my family, for myself, number one, for my wife, right? There's a lot on the line here, right? And I'm not straying away from that. I'm not running from that. I'm running to that with all courage. Right? Fear is not going to keep me from doing what I need to do or what I'm called to do on this earth. I assure you, you know, and that's the mindset I'm in right now.
That's great.
You know?
That's awesome, man. No, that's badass. I really appreciate you sharing that. And being vulnerable, man. I know.
Oh man. It's been a journey to get to the place in my heart where I can be vulnerable and just be just honest, bro, because like we were talking about in the beginning, I don't care about being canceled. You know, I don't care about what people think about me like I used to, right? There was a time where I wouldn't talk about my relationship with what they call God, right? I wouldn't talk about my relationship with God, with people, because it's like, well, you know, they're going to judge me for that, because they're going to think like I'm one of those Bible thumpers that judge everybody and all this other stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love to read. I read several books, but my number one book I read is the Bible. But it's not like I'm what people perceive someone who believes in God is like, you know, like I don't like being put in a box. And I do my best not to put people in a box. You know, I don't like classifications and all that stuff. I hate that stuff. Like I'm my own individual. Like I walk this walk differently than anybody else. Like who can walk like me but me? Who can walk 100%. Like you but you? You know?
100%.
Like people listen to this, they might be like, oh, he's a Christian. I'm not a Christian. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that would be the perception. Like, oh yeah, he's a Christian. I'm not a Christian.
Yeah.
I'm not in any classification.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real talk.
That's cool. No, that's really cool. No, yeah. I mean, I'm just really kind of thinking about what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, and it's not for anybody to. I mean, they can have their opinions of what they think you are, but and what I think the thing that's leaving me the biggest impression about your passion for your belief is that it's very much about how can I explain this? Like, it's very much about you, like your belief is about you, and it seems like you're still like not still, but like you believe what you believe, and that's enough. You don't have to be part of this group. You don't have to have a title.
Right.
You don't have to have like it almost seems to me like you're just you.
Yeah.
Like you're just you. Like, I mean, I can't even put it into words because it's like everything that I hear you saying is just somebody who comes off as like very confident. And I really appreciate that. Like about how you like how you are. I don't even know like how I'm trying to say it, but like I can't even describe like you're Nico.
Oh,
like you're Nico, and I really appreciate that.
Oh man, thank you so much. Yeah. And I want to clarify that my belief isn't about me, because then it would be nothing. So the way I look at it is my belief is about him. It's about the Most High. It's about him because
100%,
it comes from him. I am only here because of him. And it's like, so if it's about me, even though I don't think I'm like a terrible guy or anything like that. But if it's about me, to me, it's worthless. You see, because anything that just comes just from me, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, no, and
you feel
for
me?
Sure, yeah, and what I meant to say by that is like what I meant by that is like it doesn't matter what anybody else believes. Like, your faith is definitely about him.
Yeah.
But what I meant by that is that you're not like that. Somebody's not just gonna come in and be able to like shake that
infiltration up in
exactly. That what I meant is by you is like that you believe what you believe. That
okay. I feel that.
So no, that's
I feel that, sir.
But no. But hey, man, I feel like that's a good place to end it on. I would love to have you back. I know that we because what I'm hoping by this is like I've done a few interviews with Scott and J Mac. And a lot of it like again is letting people know, but eventually I just would like to have conversations.
That's cool, man. This is a really cool setup you got going here, bro. It feels just real chill. I don't even know how long we've been doing this, but like I kind of forgot the camera was on a couple of times, or a few times. So I looked over there because I'm like, oh wait, there's people part of this conversation. I forgot y'all was here. But at the same time, like I appreciate the safe space where I can comfortably just be myself and talk to someone who's not, I don't feel like is judging me. Like you've made it feel like I can talk to you about anything.
Yeah.
And I truly appreciate that, man. You got something really special going here.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate that.
You really do. I hope you were not using any of your sales tricks on me to make me talk about some of the things I usually don't talk about on camera.
No. I'm gonna actually title this video as like the truth, like
bro,
exposed.
Bro, you should call this Nico Unleashed or something.
Yeah. No, man, but no. I appreciate you letting me know that. I mean, that was the gist of everything. And I appreciate because you're only the third interview I've ever done in my life.
Oh, I'm number 3.
Yeah. So
that's what's up.
Yeah. So the fact that you said that, that's definitely the vibe that I wanted to give off. So
cool.
Again, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Honestly, man, since I met you, it's been a very positive experience. I'm not to blow any smoke, but I really enjoy speaking to you because I always feel like pumped after I talk to you. Even in the small text messages, that we've shared, when you're like, yeah, man, like we keep it going and all stuff. I'm like, yeah, man, like I've never left a conversation or experience with you and just been like, God, I'm glad that was over.
You're a mighty man.
Oh,
I told you that in a text message before as well, and I'm gonna say it again. You are a mighty man.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yes,
No,
you
I
are, my
appreciate
brother.
that, man. No. And I hope that you guys that are watching can get what I've gotten from knowing you and from talking to you. And again, I really appreciate you doing this, and thank you.
Oh man, thank you so much for opening your home to me and this comfortable couch.
Yeah.
Chilling on this thing, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Well, hey guys, appreciate y'all. We'll
Appreciate
see
y'all
y'all on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.